Okay. Linda, it might be yours. Jim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, sir?
So we got a brand new rookie here. Jim has been doing real estate. How long have you been doing real estate, Jim?
Got licensed 92.
Is that 18 or 19?
Now, I was 42 years old when I got licensed.
So what would be your one sentence of wisdom for a newbie right now?
To listen to you, and of course, in the sense of make sure that regardless if they're working with buyers or sellers, make all your scripts or dialogue question based.
Wow, very good. Well, Jennifer, I'm glad you're on here, and the rest of you guys too. And particularly if you're brand new, I wish I would have had this type of training when I was new. There was no Keller Williams when I started. It was like almost 40 years ago. However, you want to develop, everybody has, and I'm talking to everybody now, everybody has habits. And unfortunately, some of them don't serve us well, so we want to change the habit. Gary Keller says there's 5 things that really that should occupy our day. Gary calls it the 20%, and that's the 80-20 rule. So 20% basically are things you should have in your calendar each and every day. And those are, if you want to take a couple of notes before we start, it's 1 o'clock right now, so welcome to everyone to scripts and dialogues and how to survive in a C19 market. Denny Grimes here, calling from Fort Myers, Naples. That's where my hub is. And I've got people on my Zoom call and Facebook Live. So I'm just finishing up a conversation with some of the people that are in the Zoom call now. Gary Keller's top 20%, 5 items are going to be, number 1 is lead generate. Number 2 is lead follow-up. So make sure you block your calendar. As I've been coaching Bold for like the last 4 years, and I was in Reno, like I'd mentioned, and I get to go into a particular area 1 day a week for 7 weeks. So after a while, you get to know the people pretty well. The number 1 thing people always raise their hand with, they would like to be able to do a better job with, is mastering their schedule. And there's a Bold law that says if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. We had this conversation in our team in one of our practice and role play sessions earlier in this week. And we can talk more about that. However, just the fundamental things. Here's the thing. Now let me go through the 5 things first before we get started. You got lead generate. And I always say that's where the money comes from. And then the second thing Gary says is lead follow-up. Now that's where the big money. So if you're going to write down lead follow-up, that's where the big money is. Remember, many times, and most of the time, you're going to make a call, use a script like we're going to be working on today and throughout the coming weeks. It doesn't always work. I mean, people, the National Association of Realtors says that people are somewhere, they buy a home every 10 years. And so if they're a homeowner right now, when you meet someone at Starbucks or Subway or wherever you happen to meet them, and you say hello and have a conversation, you have no earthly idea where they are on that continuum. Are they like year 1 of 10, or they year 9, meaning they're really looking for a home right away? So just the sheer math of it, you guys, is going to be that the odds are that the people are not going to be interested in buying a home when you first talk to them. Now, there's ways to mitigate that. You go to for sale by owners, you have open houses, expired listings, those types of things. Those guys most likely are a little closer to the time they may want to pull the trigger. And so that's where lead follow-up comes in. You want to stay in touch with those people. So I'm talking to Jennifer here and everybody else. And so the number 3 is to set appointments. It's hard to sell real estate without appointments. And so that's generally where the fun comes into real estate. That's what people like. I have a lot of people say, oh, I just love people. I love showing homes. I've watched HGTV. I just saw 2 episodes. I know I can do this. And you just put somebody in front of me, I can sell them. Okay. Yes, you probably can. However, you won't get great numbers with that type of attitude because you need a conveyor belt, a pipeline. So it's lead generate, lead follow-up, set appointments, negotiate contracts. We'll be talking about negotiating a little bit today. Negotiation is a skill. And if you're brand new in real estate, that's awesome. You've got a lifetime of depending on how old you are, of different things you can pull from. And negotiation is something that we should practice. And speaking of practice, the last thing in Gary's job description are the top 20% of things we should be doing. And this is where I was going with this anyway. So brand new, you guys should be dedicated to script practice and role play on a daily basis. So, 20 some years in with Jim, 37 years with me, the newer agents and the brand new agent, Jennifer, thanks for being on the call. The thing that I would have you get into is number one, those scripts that you have, scripts that you're learning, find a partner and practice on them every day. Set it in your calendar and you do it daily. We have in our team, everybody gets on via Zoom, which is pretty cool. It goes from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. My director of growth is awesome at leading this call. And we work on different scripts. And even I can just tell you this, you guys, I have some people here that will speak up. Some people won't. In bold May, we had 40,000 people on there. What they loved the best of all the bolds was the script in the role play, because you can actually watch how someone applies it, how somebody applies a conversation. Now, what Jim said, I believe in question-based listening, enhanced conversational scripts versus just a lot of gushing information. So practice and role play will be paramount, and we're going to work on that a little bit. So I have here, you guys are brand new. If you can see the TV behind me, it's a little bit hard to read. However, you'll just make a note to go to Denny Delivers Mastermind on YouTube. No, I'm sorry, it's just Denny Delivers on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got a lot of recordings of things you can look up, today's recording in the past. And if you go to Facebook at Denny Grimes Mastermind, Denny Grimes Mastermind on Facebook, I have a lot of free stuff. And then you'll be notified of our future classes. So is there anything pressing? I'm going to go to you guys first. Anything pressing, any questions, situations that have happened before we go into some stuff that I've just written down that I've had some experiences with this week? I always like to give you first crack.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the Facebook link?
Sure. Denny Grimes. Denny Grimes Mastermind. Sonny, will you verify that? I think it's right. I always get that messed up. It's YouTube is Denny Delivers. And I think the Facebook page is Denny Grimes Mastermind. And we'll verify that, put it in the chat.
Found it. I found it. We're in.
Okay, good. You might have to put your email address in there. However, I've got some free stuff. I've got the 1 of 3 things thing, and I've got some scripts in there, and you're welcome to that. So
Awesome.
unless something is pressing, I've got a situation that's come up here from a potential buyer. And we've covered this before, and you guys, here's the thing is that I know we're still in kind of a crazy market. A lot of things are moving quickly. I mean, particularly in a sweet spot. We had a home that we listed this weekend, $1.4 million in Naples. And I know you hear a lot of good things about Naples. However, that's still always got some noise in the background. If you'd be kind enough to mute yourself, awesome. And we sold at full price in a weekend. So here's the thing. I want you to look at this, and I've got some experienced people on here that maybe will talk with me and brainstorm with me. When you have a buyer that wants to make an offer, here's what the buyer says. I want to make an offer on this home. It meets our needs. It's listed at $615,000. Give us some direction. Now, understand that it's been a long time since I've been new. However, I do new things. And it's awesome when somebody that has got, a lot of hours in one thing, like the older you get, my definition of people getting old is they don't do anything new anymore. They drive the same way to work, the same way to church. They sit in the same pew. They go to the same restaurant, eat the same thing, play the same sports. If they're playing golf, they'll never try something different. Unlike when we're kids, we're game for anything. So I'm always attempting to do something new. So the thing here is that one of the things that I want you guys to just be comfortable with is this. Real estate is nothing more than helping people solve their problems. I've used this analogy before. If you were having a party at your house and somebody called you from their cell phone, and maybe they just didn't quite understand the directions, couldn't read their GPS, and they were going to ask you, hey, Jim, how do I get to your house? I'm lost. The first question you're going to ask them, it's only logical, you guys, is where are you now? And when you follow the question-based script technique that we use, what you want to do is find out where they are. Now, this question here, what questions would come to your mind when someone asks you this? And one more point I want to say about this, and that's whoever is asking the questions is the one that's controlling the conversation. Now, you guys we always want to be in fact-finding mode, because what we know is not near as important as what they think. Write that down. What we know isn't as important as what they think, because remember, what they think is their reality, and sometimes they may be a little bit messed up on their thinking. So we have to understand where they are. So I'm a buyer, come to you and say, look, I want to make an offer on this home. I love this house. I want to make an offer, $615,000. Give me some things. You don't have to give me some scripts. What questions are going through your mind? Because here's the thing. If I can help you understand, this is not memorizing a bunch of things. You have questions. And the question-based philosophy that we're using is you're going to ask questions. So what would you like to know from the buyer's perspective? If I came to you as the agent and say, listen, help me. It's listed at $615,000. Give us some direction. What would you like to know? What questions are bubbling up in your brain?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love this house?
Okay, awesome. He's using the 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love the house? Now, okay, so give me a little thought behind that. Why do you want to know that?
Because if they really want that house, if it's a 10 for them, then we need to figure out what is their pain level, how high are they willing to go in this kind of market where they would be able to sleep at night if they didn't get the house, but they'd be upset if someone beat them by $500.
It sounds like you've listened to my scripts before. Awesome.
Just a little.
Yeah, awesome. So, all right, so watch this, you guys. It's James, right?
Right.
James, can you deliver the 1 to 10 to me? I'll be the buyer.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love this house?
Yes. Now, may I wax on, wax off just a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't know what the scale means. So when you use the 1 to 10, give me the scale.
Okay, so 1 would be you could care less if you got the house or not. 10 would be you would be incredibly upset if this wasn't your new home.
Now, can you see the benefit in making sure there's some clarity on that? They have to know what 1 is, what 10 is, because you go both ways. Well, hey, I don't know. 8.
Okay, so you really love the house. Now, in this market, we're finding that people are bidding up over the asking price. So the question is, how much do you love this house if you had to go over the list price? Okay,
so, that's why I'm asking you. I'm going back into role. This is the question. We had this happen to one of our agents this week. So, and we're using, actually, that was the price too. Well, I'm asking James for some help.
Okay, well, I need to know, where is it that what are you willing to pay for this house where you'll be able to sleep at night if you don't get it? How much are you willing to pay for this house and still be able to sleep at night?
Okay. Now, I'm going to stop here just for a second because that's a great question. He's following some of the things we've worked on before. I'm going to stop from an agent's perspective. Now, this is we're the professional here. What are some considerations that we should be before we can advise them? What are some things you would want to know about this particular property? Because, and let me just, I'm going to let you think. The negotiation strategy or your level of advice will vary depending on a couple of variables. What's variable number 1?
Are there any other offers?
Jim, I heard you first. What was it?
I didn't say anything.
I'm sorry. All right, I had 3 people go. So go back in. What's one thing you'd want to know?
How hot is the market?
Okay, there's one. All right, what else would you want to know? And it's hot. What else?
Have they been pre-approved for a loan?
Yeah, okay, those are things you want. How about those Saints, by the way, huh? Okay, so what else would you want to know about the property?
I'd want to know if there are multiple offers, and if so, how many?
Yes, you want to know that. Before that,
How are the
what is
comps?
it? There's probably two things that are most important for us as we start to give our advice.
Well, if the property is going to have a certain value, is it going to get appraised for that value if it's based off the loan? Meaning, are they going to be able to get approved for that house?
Right. All right. So you're on the right track. Here's where my line of thinking is going, because this is the question I'd want to know. Number one, how long has it been on the market? Does that vary? I mean, is that an important consideration, you guys?
Yes.
Yes, because a home being on the market like one day, your approach would be different than if it's been on the market 4 months, correct?
Definitely.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and there's one more thing you want to know. It has to do with that. We talked about it before, although I haven't talked about it a lot. The second thing you'd want to know is not only how long it was been on the market, how long has it been on the market since its last repositioning? Think about it a minute. So if it's been on the market 4 months, what could you tell about that? It's been on the market 4 months.
Price wasn't right in the line for the market.
You're right. So if you go in this market, which is hot, and you find a home that's been on the market, and I don't know what number you would say, 30 days, let's say it's been on the market 30 days, what do you know pretty much for sure about that home?
It's overpriced.
Totally overpriced, yeah.
Yeah, it's at least not bleeding edge like a good deal, right? Because in this market, in almost any market, really, I'm going to say that because the market's efficient. If it's been on the market 30 days, we as a listing agent should know, we as when we're working with a buyer that needs some us to counsel them should know, no one scooped it up yet. Therefore, it's not a steal. That you can take to the bank. So might you have a different conversation with a buyer on a home that's been on the market for 30 days or 60 days about coaching them about going over asking price? How would you handle that? Because it's not bleeding edge steal of the deal. One more thing. When you see the days on the market, go and check the second thing I ask you to check. When was the last time it had a price change? Because let's assume now it's been on the market 4 months and it's still there. You're going to assume, hey, listen, this seller is like, this is overpriced, blah, 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 and I think we should come in low. Maybe you wouldn't say, I'm not saying you should say it like that. However, that could be your kind of advice. Would it make a difference if just last night the seller took it from 700,000 down to 615? There was a major repositioning. Do you think that matters on the strategy in which you might advise that buyer?
Yes.
You bet it would. So I want you guys to write it down in your noodle up here. To always look at days on the market and then basically when was the last price change. And you're generally pretty safe if the market has not, if you are in the sweet spot of the price range. Now in Lee County, where I live, Fort Myers, $615,000 is not necessarily the sweet spot. That wouldn't be too far in Naples, okay? And if you have a home in that sweet spot of the market, it's been on the market for a couple of weeks or more, chances are, and I'm just saying, probability says there aren't multiple buyers wanting to buy it at that price. Now I'm going to pause just for a moment. Now that's what I want you guys to kind of probably know, because I believe the market's efficient and all things being equal, the market will always act on yes and we'll say no to properties that don't meet the needs. Now, any comment on that? Because in this particular case, the home has been on the market 30 days, no price change. It's listed at $615,000. I'm coming to you and saying, listen, give me some direction on it. How would you handle that?
If it's been on the market 30 days at that price, I would still fall back on, remember when we first started this quest, I told you there's good chance there will be multiple offers. So at what point your feelings that you would be upset, what price, if you lost a property and you couldn't sleep at night? What is that price?
Well, it's listed at 615 and it hasn't sold yet. So, I'm assuming it's probably a little bit overpriced. So what do you think if it came in at 600?
Well, how would you feel if they got an offer for 615,000, just what it's listed at, and you lost the property?
Right. Okay. So, all right. Now, Jim is modeling. Notice what he's modeling is questions. And he's been on the calls enough, and maybe he already knew this skill. Please write this down if you're in a place where you could write. If you're in a tanning booth, you probably don't even have a pen on you. So write it down that when you're working with buyers and sellers, make sure you're setting expectations and not setting prices. Because when you do, there could be some trouble. So so Jim, you're up on the screen. So do you mind being the buyer just for a moment, please?
Sure.
So let's say you just said 600, and so then your comeback was fine. I would probably play it a little bit different. You took it all the way up to 615. So I'm going to say, Jim, let me ask you a question. I know it's been on the market 30 days, and you've now just noticed it and liked it, right?
Yeah.
And the markets, and and we have the meat thermometer. And I would have asked him a question. This would be a good time to bring it up. If you haven't, ask it. Hey, listen, in this market, there's no right or wrong answer. Do you think it's working in your favor as a buyer or working against you?
In this market overall, I'd have to say working against me.
Yeah, you know why we call it a seller's market, don't you?
Yeah, I think you said something about multiple offers. That's usually means seller's market.
Now, you notice that I could have told him it's a seller's market. You see the power in asking the question. What I'm doing is I'm attempting to demonstrate with you, instead of going from A to Z, I'm laying a little bit of a trail for him. I'm laying a trail of logic. Now, he's the one that said there's multiple offers, which leads me to the next question I was going to ask anyway. So, Jim, I know it's been on the market 30 days. Remind me that I've got a really funny thing about, your spouse. So remind me that because I might forget. So, and you're just noticing it. Is it possible in the seller's market that maybe another buyer has seen the house too and is contemplating the same thing you're thinking about?
Yeah, that's possible.
So that means you might have some competition, right?
True.
So now I'm going to go back and in the same line of thought that Jim was saying and James was saying is this. Okay, so here's the thing. In a seller's market, the thing that I want to ask you is, do you want to make offers or do you want to own the home?
Well, I really like this home, so I want to own it.
So then the question is, and this is where James was going, just the same question. Then what's the most you're willing to pay for it?
Well, based on the fact there may be another offer, and I guess it could come in at the listed price, 615. I'd say 620.
Okay, now, all right, and then the script goes, and you guys had it. So, all right, I get that. So if you find out it sold after, 2 months later, you find out it sold for 620, 500, how would you feel?
Pretty bad, because I like the house.
However, so I'm not going to go down that path. Here's where I want you. This is what I want to spend some time on. Now, it's possible a buyer is going to do that. I know there's a lot of buyers out there that may not be willing to do that right away. So, well, Denny, now I'm going back to, let's say, Jim, you're still the buyer. You're going to ask me, well, it's been on the market 30 days. Is there a chance I can get it for less? Now, would that be a realistic statement a buyer can make?
Sure.
So Jim asked me that.
Okay, it's been on the market now 30 days, so I think when you told me about the multiple offers, I don't think that's true here, so we might be able to get it below what their listed price is.
Okay, yeah, you might. And here's the thing, you guys. Is it possible if a home has been on the market for 30 days and it hasn't sold and there's been no price change? Is it possible? In fact, I'll just ask you, in normal markets, and we're not in a normal market, wouldn't you agree? We're kind of in a super fast market. You know, I call this the GOAT market, the greatest of all times. In a normal market, a seller would probably be happy to get an offer somewhere close to that. So now he's pushing me. Is there a chance he can get a better deal on it? And so here's the thing, you guys, and I've said this before, write it down if you've not heard it. Only state the things you don't know. Don't talk about the things you don't, because there's always some uncertainty. All right, well, yes, you may be able to get it less, Jim, but here's the question I want to ask you. Do you want to make an offer attempting to save some money and in the end lose the house? So I'm sorry, which is the greater pain, making an offer less than what the seller is asking and losing the house, or making an offer greater than what the next best offer might be and getting the house? Which is the greater pain?
Can you repeat the original phrase that you said? Better to say what you don't know than to say that again. I'm sorry.
Yes, I want you guys to state what you do know, and not what you don't know. You don't know what the future is going to hold. I've heard agents, even recently, on Zoom calls, not you guys, make an opinion of the future of the market, what's going to happen here and what's going to happen there, blah, 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 and state it as a fact. I mean, the only thing that's pretty much guaranteed anymore is the Saints losing on Sunday. Sorry.
You're killing us. You're killing us.
I know. I don't know what's going on with you guys. So state what you do know. Don't state what you don't know. So then the script goes like this. Which is a greater pain, Jim? Making an offer less than what the seller is expecting and losing the house because somebody else paid more, or making an offer higher than the next best offer and you own the home? Which one hurts the most?
Well, the first one you said, the one that I make offer lower than the next best offer and lose the house, because I like that house.
Got it. Now, is there that is you have to think about that. You've got to think about that question. And if you need me to repeat it, I will, because you're going to have to practice it in order to be able to deliver it where they understand it, because it's a very complex question. Once you understand it, it's simple. However, the first time you hear it, you're thinking, is that Pig Latin or what? Does anybody need to hear it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's fine. I want you to get this. In fact, I'm going to say it one more time, then I want whoever has it can read it. I want to make sure you have it. And this is, you can do, a common question you can ask buyers and sellers is, what's the greater pain? For example, last night, I'm attempting to be good. I've got a few pounds I want to shed, so I'm kind of watching what I eat. However, at night, and ice cream is not my thing. I like popcorn. So, like, well, I was pretty good today. I didn't cheat a whole lot. And so I had to ask myself, and this is a decision we all make, what's the greater pain? You know, watching the football game and not having popcorn, or waking up in the morning after I had the popcorn and feeling like crap, I ate popcorn. And every decision has an effect. So here it is again. Which is a greater pain, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer or seller? This is a buyer now. Making an offer on the home, less than the seller, less than someone else, and losing the home. In essence, what they're doing is they're attempting to shave every penny they can off of it. And you know what? At some point in time, they're going to lose the home because they're attempting to save a penny or two. So what's the greater pain? Making an offer on the house less than what the seller expects and losing it, or making an offer higher than the next best offer and getting the home? Because a minute ago, Jim was ready to go up to 620. That's $5,000 over asking price. You know, what if Jim found out later that the best offer was 610? He paid $10,000 too much. How would he feel? So that's the greater pain question. Now, somebody who's written it down, would you mind just reading it? I just want to make sure you got this, because I'm the buyer. Ask me. You can read it right off your paper.
Okay.
I'll go.
Which is the greater pain, making an offer and losing the home, or paying a little more and getting the home?
That is a thought-provoking question, you guys. That question will work. All right, so James, stay with me. You're the agent. Well, I mean, it's been on the market 30 days. I mean, obviously there are people aren't lining up to buy it. Can we not at least make an offer? I mean, we don't have to be crazy. How about if we go in there like at 607 or something?
We can do that, but again, you know, if someone came in $500 over and you lost the house, would you be able to sleep at night?
Yes. Now, see there? Perfect. Notice that everything James did was a question. Well, all right, how about 610?
Yeah, we could do 610. Same thing though. If someone comes in $500 more, are you able to sleep at night?
Well, I can. I don't know if my wife can.
Well, it's pretty important that the wife be able to sleep.
Then
If
what
she
should
doesn't sleep, you're not sleeping.
Right. Well, I'll be on the couch. So let me ask you this, James. What should we do?
Well, you tell me, are you comfortable making an offer at 610 and you can sleep if you don't get the house?
Now, I don't know that I don't think I ever said that, and I want to go ahead and have you ask me that question again. You're almost suggesting I should do that, because I didn't say I would be willing to. I said I can sleep, but my wife can't. I was telling you that probably we don't want to lose it at 610. Tell me what I should do.
Well,
I'm waiting for this. We've done this before. I just want to see if you remember it.
where's the pain? At what price would you be able to lose this house and sleep at night and be fine with it?
Okay. That is in essence. Now that's one way you could do it. Let me ask you, and you guys listen. And there's no right or wrong. It's just this is how I do it. So here's the thing. You want me to give you the advice, James?
Yes.
I want you to pretend like this is a sealed bid auction and come in with your best number up front, because we may not get a second chance. What is your best number? Now I'm going to stop while you guys think. Do you guys see any difference in the question I asked versus what James asked? I didn't get him to the pain yet. I'll take them there. Probably, and this just may be my style, or maybe it's because he's getting to the heart of the matter faster than I am. I'm actually bringing them along slower. And maybe you guys feel like it's watching paint dry. I just kind of like, I just kind of bring them along slower to make sure they're with me versus going to the pain question. So I'm going to say, James, it's got to be your best number. What is it?
I say let's go 612. That's my top. I think it's been on the market 30 days. I think he's not going to get 615. I would say, what, can you call the other seller and agent and see if he's had any offers? Is there anything on the table at all?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
And let's assume that there's not.
then I think 612 is a solid offer, and I think I'll be able to sleep at night if someone comes in over that at this point.
So if you lost it for five, they came in at 612, 500, where are you sleeping? Are you in the master bedroom or are you on the couch?
Hopefully I'm in a master bedroom somewhere, not in that house, I guess.
Yeah. So then are you saying then that you're okay to lose the house?
Yeah, at anything over 612, I'd be fine with, I'm okay if we don't get it. I think that's a more than fair offer, and I think we could get it at that.
Okay, I understand. Now, would you be done? Who's here that would be done at that point? And I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping our DNA off the price. And you guys have done a great job of asking questions. No one said anything. No one talked about, oh, we're selling houses in 3 days, or we got 13 days on the market, 105% of the asking price, and people from California are moving in, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we didn't go into this discussion, did we? How many people would stop, or what else, would there be anything else that you might say?
Maybe just
I
let
think-
them, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're up, Elm. I don't know how to say the name. It's Elm.
Eli.
Eli?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, I messed that one up. So Eli, what were you saying?
No, Eli is just my nickname because the other half is too complicated for most people to pronounce.
Okay.
I would just say, hey, listen, as your agent, I feel that I have a responsibility to let you know what's going on in the market, because I want to do what's best for you. And then just proceed to let them know what kind of market we're dealing with. Let them understand that based off the circumstance, if it's very unlikely that they'll get the offer, allow them to know that it's very unlikely that there's a big chance that they may not get the offer. And just sort of, so afterwards, when it doesn't go through, they can't come back to you and start giving you havoc for it.
Well, okay. I mean, I get that, and I don't know. We're kind of doing that here, Eli. However, can you do it via questions?
Via questions?
We don't make statements here. We always ask questions.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Buyer, you understand the market that we're in right now?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, all right. Yeah. Well, I know that homes are selling fast.
Right. And based off our experience looking into many homes, that it's not easy to come across a house right now for the best price, right?
Well, you tied it down. It was still a statement. How could you ask that question?
Okay. Well, based off our experience working together, would you say that the chances of us finding a house like this is going to come up in the near future?
Right. And so that was that. Now you see the difference there, though. Start training yourself to ask, because when you're asked, you're going to discover. Say, listen, let me ask you, Eli, how long have you been looking for a home like this?
2 months right now.
Right. And so it's not easy, is it?
No, it isn't.
And here's what you want to know what concerns me?
What's that?
Based on what we talked about in the market, I mean, you said it was a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
What do you think will happen if you have to wait another 2 months to find another house like this? What might be different?
We could be looking at houses, the price of houses could be going up, and we can be stuck in a worse pickle than we're in now.
You see, I took you there with just asking you questions. That's the second part of it, you guys. When I was role playing with James and he wanted to go up to 612 or whatever that number was. And I would probably go there one more time. So, no, James, how long have you been looking for a house? 2 months, right? Well, what if it takes 2 months to find another house like this? What might be different? I'm letting them know with the market moving up, and he might be penny wise, pound foolish, because he be better. Let me ask you this. Here's the thing you can probably assume, and assuming is a bad thing. When you are in negotiations and you are within a few $1,000s away in a $600,000 house, is that a logical negotiation or an emotional one?
Emotion.
It's emotion. It's emotion. When an appraiser knows that, when the appraiser appraises a property you sold and they've seen the contract price and they come back at a $600,000 house and it's $2,000 under appraisal, is that a logical judgment or an emotional one?
That's logical.
No, it's stupid. You don't know $2,000 in a $600,000 house. It drives me crazy. Appraisers want to be like off a percent. Give me a break.
They feel it's logical. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, well, they're just mad at the world when they come up with that. So here's the thing. In that little role play right there, I want you to hear. Actually, let me just ask you, what ahas did you get? We spent about 40 minutes on that one scenario because it was different than what we normally do with the house first coming on the market. It's a completely different thing, although the scripts can be the same. Were there any ahas you had in that 40 minutes?
Yeah, I think that if you get the buyer to come to the conclusion within his own head, it's more likely that he'll be more flexible to make a better decision than if you just try to convince him out of where his head's at right now.
That's an awesome aha, Eli. And here's the thing is that when I hear my team say, and I know they don't mean any harm, well, I got them to do this. Yeah, I convinced them to do that. That's not our job. It's our job to help them self-discover, because when they self-discover something, ever done a good job of quote selling someone, and next thing you know, they back out the next day or during the inspection, they get cold feet, this, that, and the other. That'll happen naturally on any situation. However, if we're basically convincing them, selling them, and talking them into it, they're not convinced themselves. Awesome. Awesome, Eli. Anybody else with an aha? I want you to say one more thing back to me, because we talked about something very, very important.
I liked your, what if it takes another 2 months to find another house? What will change? Because you can't see the future. So you plant the seed of uncertainty of, you don't know what's coming down the road. So what's here right now looks pretty good.
Yes, that's awesome, James. And you notice I could have said, well, in 2 months, houses will be more expensive. Now, do I know that? I don't know that. So don't say stuff you don't know. Ask them, if you have to wait 2 more months, what is likely to be different about the house you buy? Make them come up with it. Oh, I think it'll be better. Oh, really? Why? Well, election, blah, blah, blah. At least get it out. All right, good one. One more. Let's go, guys. I got one more thing I want to talk about.
You kept your fingerprints off.
Yes. 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 And for those that have been on the role play, I mean, you guys did a really good job. You understand it. Those that have been on these calls now for several months, and we've got some new people on here. Is this a call you can go on once and get it?
No.
I don't think so.
We are turning you guys into the black belt question askers. And remember, when you tell, you push away. When you ask, you lead. The thing the big aha that I wanted you to, and you didn't say it, you might have gotten it, is this. You guys as agents, the first thing you do when you have a buyer interested in a property, you want to find out how long it's been on the market and when is the last time it had a price change. That will give you some very quick information as to where it is positioned in the market. Take that with a grain of salt. Is it highly possible? In fact, Murphy's Law says it's highly probable that a home can be on the market since Eisenhower was president. And as soon as your buyer's interested, there's someone else that's interested at the same time. Have you ever seen that happen?
Yes.
Yes. So never assume that your buyer, and it might have been on the market for 6 months or 8 months or who knows what, they've never changed the price, and all of a sudden, and you've got to, don't let your guard down. Do not put your DNA on that. So I think that was good. I'm proud of you guys. You did a really good job of that. Has anybody had any practical experience in the field using these scripts with buyers And so, and again, my class, when I teach this, is how you can win in a multiple offer market, even if your buyers don't. So you guys that are practitioners, have you been using these scripts in the field with your buyers? And do you have any feedback for us and the rest on the class, on the Zoom call?
Well, I've only had a chance to use it on one buyer, but several sellers. And on the seller part, I can attest to the fact that it nails them 80% of the time in my experience, as opposed to my past track record. When I walked into a listing, and I thought it was pretty good, had a 60% chance of getting it. And even at that, it might have been one I didn't want because it was overpriced and no motivation.
Okay. Well,
Does that make sense?
I'm sorry?
I just said that. Did that make sense?
No and yes. I mean, I want to hear about it, although I don't know what was this really quick, because I've got one more thing I want to get to, Jim. What was the scenario and what question did you ask or technique did you use to get it to go to your favor?
On the seller?
Yeah.
Oh, when I've always I lately have always made sure I knew their motivation before I took a overpriced offer. In the past, that wasn't.
An overpriced listing.
Excuse me?
You said an overpriced offer. You mean an overpriced listing?
Listing, right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I went to made sure that before I took the listing, I knew that there was a lot of motivation there. In the past, I would have walked away and let them know that if they had motivation, I mean, I would have walked away because I would have told them, hey, because I was the expert, nobody's going to pay $50,000 more than what it's worth. So you might need to call Remax.
So they had motivation and ended up taking the listing, yes or no?
Yes, yes.
And did it sell?
Yes.
There you go. That's awesome. Thank you, Jim. Here's the last thing I want to cover real quick here is this happened to me. I had a call from a lady in Naples. And no, I'm sorry, wait a minute. This is the one. And she called and said, I got your name off the radio. I have a radio ad with Barbara Corcoran or a TV ad, one or the other. She said, I'm unhappy with my current agent. I'm currently listed. What will you do to get my condo sold? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you get calls from sellers that are unhappy with their current agent? I'm sure you will. Now, you may not get as many in this market because more stuff is selling. However, in the past, I mean, has anybody had a call from somebody who was listed with someone else? So here I'm going to just tell you a little bit rather than, and I'll give you an opportunity to have some input here in a second on how I look at this, how my team handles these things, because we do a lot of advertising. All of our advertising is geared toward listers, and I have a hassle-free listing, and which means they're unhappy, they can fire me at any time. I advertise that. I have a flexible commission plan and 7-day listing agreement, guaranteed sale program that if I can't sell it, I'll buy it. And we have a love it or leave it guarantee for a buyer who buys the home. So we have been very strategic about putting together a value proposition. So this lady calls me, very nice lady on the phone. Not that that matters. I just found it pleasant talking to her. And she was already listed. And here's the thing. On my philosophy is this. One of the first things I want to find out is, number one, is it listed? When does the listing expire? Now, this is a business decision that I've made because people can get unhappy at month 2 into a 6-month listing that they can't get out of. And so I've just made it a point where I don't go on those appointments. And the other thing is, I've been in real estate a long time, taught the code of ethics for 15 or 20 years, which is a great document, is that I understand I don't step on agents' toes. Now, understand from an ethical standpoint, if you are contacted by a buyer or seller from another agent, all right, they're already listed as a buyer, they're listed as a seller, and they contact you, we may talk to them about the services we provide. According to the code of ethics, we can even take a post-dated listing to become effective on the expiration of the other listing if they call us. So there's nothing wrong with you talking to them and helping them out. This lady was into a long-term agreement. She thought she could get out of it. And so I attempted to take the high road. And get this, she was a dream seller. What would you do if you had a seller? She was not occupying the condo any longer. It was empty. She had another house, so she's making double payments, or at least has her cash tied up with condo maintenance fees accruing every month. I just want to sell it, Denny. What would you think if a seller told you that?
My first impression would be the other agent is not doing their job. It's got to be overpriced if it's not moving.
Well, you're right, and I knew that. And the lady says, "Listen, I just want it sold." And I said, "Well, go back and have a conversation with your agent, because if it's not selling, you guys that are new in real estate, if the listing's not selling, it's most likely overpriced, and therefore the agent's not talking to the seller, or the seller's not listening." This lady was like begging her agent, "What do I need? What do I need to do to sell it?" And the ideas that were kicked around, you guys, and these things are actually happened, is that the agent said that we should raise the commission. So they went from X to X, just to say that I'm not getting into the percentages. So they raised the commission, didn't work. Then they offered bonuses, didn't work. Now, here's the thing I want you to know. When you have it, write this down. When you have a seller that says, "I just want it sold," would you please oblige them?
In a heartbeat.
Now, they started in the 300 range, and then I think they took it down to 299 and maybe 279. And it was on the market 200 days, sitting there vacant. And the club is having an assessment coming up that she was going to be responsible for about $30,000 if it was not sold. So what I'm saying in this particular scenario is my method of operation is that I did my best to give her advice to go have a conversation with their other agent. I'd never take the tact, I'm going to do my best to talk them out of, that, or say anything bad, because that would be a violation of code of ethics, you guys. And here's the thing. Act like, and again, just from my vantage point, I always want to act like whatever I'm saying could be recorded and the other agent could hear everything I'm saying. And so anyway, I said, here's the thing I do. Go have a conversation. And if you have any other questions, this is my cell number. You can call me. Now, I didn't follow up with her. Why? I know that she made the initial call to me. It would have been a gray area for me to follow up with her. Anyway, she did call me back in about 2 or 3 weeks. And she said, "Denny, I am beside myself. I don't know. The agent's not listening. They won't come up with any ideas. They're offering a increased commission and a bonus." Now, everyone on this call, I mean, if you don't know this, it is a pricing issue. Please write this down. Price sells listings. If anyone on this call has a listing that has not sold, maybe it's been on the market 30 days and you haven't changed the price, most likely you're going to have to reposition. And here's the sad thing. I knew 100%. I know 100% of the time that if I take a listing, I can sell it. When someone asks me what percent of your listings sell, if a seller were to ask me that, or to ask you that, the answer is 100%. 100% of the listings sell. Now, that's the statement I'll make. Now, many times they'll look at me and say 100%, then I'll give them the disclaimer. Yes, 100% of the listings sell if I listen to the market and my sellers listen to me. Make a long story short, she was beside, I said, next step, if you're not, the agent was on a vacation, who knows what, had another agent taking control of it, call the broker. I can't do anything. It's, I didn't give her advice. I don't look at the listing agreement, look for technicalities. I'm not going to do that. Talk to the people you're listed with. Well, finally she supposedly gets released. In Florida, you have to have a termination, not a withdrawal. Well, the people withdrew it. They promised they'd terminate it. They didn't. So anyway, long story short, we finally got the listing, and we made one positioning move. She was willing. She was like at 269. Now let me ask you this question. She was at 270 or 275. She was willing to sell it for 200. She had been screaming at her agent, "I'll sell it for 200." What would you do?
I would have to take a look at it, and if it's definitely a property I know from my comps, that would sell for at least 225, I would have to explain to her, why don't we start at X figure? Maybe, what do you think? And if it doesn't sell within a week, we drop it to this. And within a week of that, we'll take it down to the 200 if that's what it takes.
Can somebody give me the question? The question that's awesome, Jim. What question would you want to know? I asked her one question. You know what it was? Anyone want to take a guess?
If you sold it and you found out that a week later you sold it at 200, that there was somebody that was ready to put in an offer at 225 and you missed it, how would you feel?
That's an excellent question. A little bit dangerous, because you wonder, why wouldn't I know about the offer? Although that's the greater pain type question. So let's say you sold it for 200, then you realize you went to the grocery store and they found out, oh, you're the seller of that condo? I would have paid you 235 for that. I just didn't get there in time. How would you feel? So that's a great question. What I did, kind of what Jim was talking about, again, everything questions. Listen, I know you want it for I know you would be willing to sell it at 200. Would you be willing to sell it for more if we could do it in a timely fashion? Oh, how much more? Well, and we looked at the comps, and there's just a few comps. There wasn't a lot of comps there in that particular area, that price range. We believe that, starting at 250 would be the first repositioning move. Well, I don't want to own this. I understand that. Here's the thing: are you willing to wait a week or two to put an extra $25,000 or $50,000 in your pocket? Notice the question. I didn't know what it would be, although I just thought that would be the logical place to start. Same thing Jim said, we'll evaluate it in a week. Guess what? We sold it for full price cash at $250,000. Now that's the value of an agent. And we had a meeting today in Naples. We had our business meeting, and the team leader was talking about these offers coming in from Zillow, I forget what they're called, and all these, iBuyer type things. Remember, you guys, and I'll open it up to questions and ahas in a second because I got to hop on another call. Sellers do not need us to sell their home, particularly in this market. However, the right agent with the right training and the right negotiation skills can sell it for more than an agent that's not as skilled. And I believe that, those iBuyer things that come in, I believe we can do better than what they do because, a machine cannot, in their evaluation process or whatever. I think there's a lot of nuance in this marketplace right now that the computer does not factor in the algorithm. And I'm totally convinced that good listing agent's free. And so when you have those iBuyers coming into your marketplace, the closer you are to the customer and the more you can articulate your value proposition through asking questions, the better off you're going to be. So anyway, that lady was happy. She just wrote us a raving review. She just was tickled pink. And it's probably one of the first times in a long time I've had a seller beg their agent, I just want to sell it. And the agent would not listen. So share some ahas with me. And we'll go. We're on Thursday at 1:00. Who's got an aha? Thanks for being on the class, David. You're so quiet. Mikkel, I see 2 Davids on there. So Mikkel, you're probably there. Anybody have an aha?
Just a one-liner. The every house sells. Every listing I have will sell if I listen to the market and the seller listens to me. That
Yep.
was very powerful, I thought. That was really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more? People are dropping like flies. Thank you, Elon. Come back and see me. Jennifer, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
And what did you get? What did you think of your first class?
I need to come to every dang class because this is going to be a learning curve for me.
Somebody give her some encouragement. This will soak in. However, you have to expose yourself to it. I've got Jim and James and David and a handful of other people that are on every time they can, and they're just getting this. I trust it's making a difference in your presentations. I trust it's making a difference in your confidence.
It has huge difference. It's great, Danny.
That's awesome. So come back Thursday, 1 o'clock. Be here.
You got
We'll
it.
talk about, and we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about. I'll have a couple things, maybe something different, and go from there. Got to hop off. Get on another call. Love you guys. Mean it. Be careful out there.
Thank you, Danny.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Denny.
Thank you.